Hey, welcome to Outside the Box, not your everyday kind of news show. I'm Jessica Taylor, and today with us we have the Pennsylvania coordinator for America Freedom to Fascism organization. We have Jim Compton. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's nice to have you. And we got some Skives outtakes coming up for you later, but let's get started. Okay, so you are the Pennsylvania coordinator for the Freedom to Fascism organization. Now, if for those of us who have not seen America Freedom to Fascism, it's Aaron Russo's film. It was made in 2006, and it talks a lot about, you know, the shift in the federal government's power
and what's happening in our country
and what's going on right now. When did you first see the film?
I saw it, I guess it's maybe a year and a half ago. Aaron was showing the films in different locations around the nation, and he showed it down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have a daughter that lives down there, so we went down to visit her and saw the film.
What'd you think?
It's an awesome film. Every American needs to see this film. I kid you not. It's that important to our nation. We are very quickly turning into a police state. Many people don't realize it. The control of the federal government over our lives is way out of hand. So,
what has the group done for the tax honesty movement? Because for those of us who haven't seen American Freedom to Fascism, it talks a lot about the income tax, the federal income tax, RFID chips, the Real ID Act, which has now been passed, and let's talk about, you know, what the group has done in the past for the tax honesty movement.
Well, if nothing else, it's bringing it to light of what's happening in our country. More people are being educated. I'd like to tell you a little bit of how I got involved in this whole tax honesty movement.
Yeah, please tell me.
Back in July of 2001, I was watching a TV show, Hannity and Combs on Fox Network, and I saw this gentleman by the name of Bob Schultz, and he was on a hunger fast. And I said, why is this guy on a hunger fast? Well, he was on a hunger fast because he had petitioned the federal government for redress of grievance with respect to the income tax, the misapplication of the income tax. And kind of perked my ears up, says, what's this all about? And I wrote down his website.
Yeah, hunger strikes are pretty
I mean, you know,
sensational, yeah.
And the First Amendment to the Constitution says we do have the right to petition our government for redress of grievance.
Right.
But the government refused to answer the petition, so he went on a hunger fast. Congressman Bartlett from Maryland, by the 20th of, I think it was around the 20th of July of 2001, had gotten then Commissioner Rosati and a gentleman by the name of Daniel Bryant from the Justice Department to agree in writing that they would answer questions from We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education with respect to the federal income tax, and they would do it the last 2 days of September of '01.
Wow.
Well, we all know 9/11 occurred in September, so they delayed that meeting until the end of February of 2002. In January, first part of January of 2002, Bob Schultz sent 200 lead questions to Congressman Bartlett to give to the Justice Department and the IRS, saying that these are the 200 questions that we're going to ask, but there'll be follow-on questions to these questions. So, and we give them to you so that you'll be ready to answer the questions.
First tier questions.
Yes, first, yeah, you can say that. By somewhere around the 15th or 20th of January, Congressman Bartlett wrote a letter back to Bob Schultz and says, we're canceling the meeting, we're not going to go. That ran a red flag up for me. As a retired naval officer, I says, hey, I was in the executive branch. If we say we're going to do something in the Navy, by gravy we do it.
Right.
If we don't, we have to give a reason. No reason. So I said, something's wrong here. What's going on? And that's when I became involved. I started studying.
Oh, okay. So, you know, a big part of the tax honesty movement is that no one has ever shown, no one in the IRS or the federal government has ever shown anyone the law that requires average American citizens to pay the income tax on their wages. And have you ever seen it? Have you or anyone you've been associated with ever seen it?
I have not seen the specific law that makes the average American pay the income tax.
Have you searched high and low?
I have. I've looked. I have found under Section 861 and the regulations thereunder that shows that Congress does in fact have the power to tax incomes from foreign and international commerce.
Right.
But to tax the average working guy's wages, I don't believe the law exists. I haven't seen it, and the federal government has refused to show it to us.
Yeah. It seems like a simple thing anyway.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hey, here it is. Okay, that's enough. But it hasn't happened in years and years. I mean, Irwin Schiff has been fighting for the tax honesty movement since the 70s, and he's now in federal prison.
Normally what happens when someone goes before the federal government with respect to a failure to file or not filing income taxes or whatever, you're not permitted to present the evidence, i.e. the law itself, to the jury. Therefore, the jury doesn't know what your belief is based on.
Right. Okay, so, a lot of the arguments that the tax honesty movement are numerous. There's so many different aspects of the argument. One is, the 16th Amendment is not valid. The 16th Amendment is not valid because it was never ratified by the proper number of states. The 16th Amendment is unconstitutional in the first place. The word income is defined by the Constitution to be profits and gains, not wages from working. That's considered a trade. But it seems that despite all of this, people are still ending up in jail. People are still ending up in prison with thousands and thousands, millions of dollars in fines. Irwin Schiff's got $2.2 million, I believe, for 6 years of tax evasion that he owes to the IRS.
Let's talk a little bit about the 16th Amendment. Okay.
Yes.
There's a book out there that's called The Law That Never Was. I think it's by Bill Benson or Mr. Benson. He used to be a congressman in the state.
I've seen it. It's a little blue book, 2 volumes. Yeah.
Anyway, and he went around to all the states and got copies, certified copies of the 16th Amendment when the states supposedly ratified it.
Right.
And I think he also went back to D.C. and looked at it there. But it amounted to 3/4 of states would have to ratify that amendment to make it an amendment.
Right.
But evidently that didn't happen. But nonetheless, the 16th Amendment did not give any additional powers to the Congress with respect to taxes. There's 2 types of taxes. There's direct taxes and indirect taxes. Direct taxes have to be apportioned amongst the states based on the population, and indirect taxes are taxes that you can choose not to participate in, i.e. like cigarette tax or alcohol tax or gasoline tax. Those types of taxes, if you don't choose to participate in them, you don't pay them. But they do have to be uniform throughout the states. For example,
define apportioned for us.
Or apportioned first, okay. Well, if we go to Article 1, Section 1 in the Constitution, it says the representatives and direct taxes will be apportioned amongst the states based on basically the population or the census or numeration as they called it. Let's say Pennsylvania has 1 million people and California has 2 million people. If the federal government was going to tax Pennsylvania $1 million, they would have to tax California $2 million.
Okay.
And the concept is the federal government, if they need a direct tax, they tax the states their portion based on the population of the total tax bill that they need.
Okay.
Let's say it's for a war or whatever, okay?
Right.
It's not normal, they wouldn't normally have the income to fight the war, so now they need to lay a direct tax, and they do, and they tell the states to collect the tax, and then the states in turn go ahead and send it to the federal government.
Okay.
That's how